We're gonna watch a video from Saintontas. The Sensor Tower report is a scam. We'll have to see what he thinks about the Sensor Tower report. I'm interested.
Most of the popular gacha games on the market nowadays don't have a PvP game mode. In a genre defined by the ability to pay for power, it's a great way to keep most players from being alienated by whales. Luckily, for the parts of the community that do like PvP, there's another outlet for that. The Sensor Tower monthly rankings and report. Measuring revenue and financial performance across a 30 or so day span, this report delivered at the start of each month always brings with it some of the spiciest conversations in the genre. Oftentimes,
I always think at the end of each month, but okay. It's the same thing.
Sometimes this data is just fuel for the fire.
That's how I associate it in my
brain.
I just thought it was interesting.
Since if the data from this website is showing that a game's revenue went down, that sure
there we go.
really means
Wu is dying. No cap. Quite sad, actually.
it's reaching its end of service, right? These numbers are
True.
oftentimes treated as gospel by many members of the community, and you can't blame them either. Gacha players aren't known for their ability to read between the lines and critically think about information.
Okay, dude. All right. This guy hates everyone that reads the Sensor Tower report. He is totally bashing on everyone that participates in the gacha PvP. Listen, it's just fun. It's just a fun time to see like what did well, what didn't do well, what characters did well, what characters didn't do well, how it's stacking up against Genshin Impact, which is the giant that it is today, you know, the absolute titan. Because like we essentially the gacha revenue of this month showed that Genshin Impact, even though China is suffering through its like coldest economic winter, right? It still managed to be in the green, which is crazy to me. It's insane. But yeah, I mean it's a fun thing. Yeah, a lot of people, for sure, a lot of people take the Sensor Tower gacha revenue in more hyperbolic ways. But I think it's all a joke. We all know like it's not gonna none of these games are gonna die. There's some R words that obviously like buy the gospel, but I think we're all just joking, having a laugh. That's how I see it, right? I think that's how I see it.
A stack-ranked list of games with two numbers is easy to digest and easy to talk to others about. But what if I told you that all of this data, that all of these people are using to draw these conclusions, is just completely made up? And the funny
So you think the person who is in charge of this, or the person who posted it on Reddit, he literally goes to every single gacha game, grabs every single title for every single region, and just comes up with funny numbers, put it in a nice graphic detail, and say, yo, this is what it is? Does the person behind it just have a vendetta against Girls Frontline and Final Fantasy Brave Exvius? Does he not like Blue Lock, Project World Champion? What's going on? What's the conspiracy here? Azure Lane, he doesn't like Azure Lane. Is that what it is? That's kind of crazy. I don't know. To be fair, it's possible. With no idea about the method used, it could very well be BS. I mean, there's a difference between made up and hyperbole or exaggerated. I feel like there is a difference, or maybe it doesn't have the complete information. But I think, in general, I think it does speak to a trend of, especially like interest and how many people are sort of mentally invested in this game.
thing is, you can confirm that this data is complete fan fiction in as little as 3 minutes on the Gacha Revenue website itself, the original source of all these garbage reports. If there's one conclusion to come to after a surface-level review of the data, it's clear that none of these numbers make any sense at all, and there are a lot of reasons for that. And today, we'll be taking the time to break down what those reasons are. As always,
because Shorekeeper should have put Wua in the green. Is that what we're gonna say? Like, what?
If you're enjoying this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. The most significant disclaimer when it comes to Sensor Tower revenue is also one that is never made known on the monthly revenue reports. That disclaimer is that a majority of their revenue estimations are completely made up. Going
I don't think that's a disclaimer.
on to the Gacha
I don't think. Okay, let's see.
Itself and searching up Wuthering Waves, specifically in CN, and then changing to Advanced View will show you that, wow, there isn't a single actual piece of data when it comes to Android revenue at all. Gacha Revenue guesstimates off of Sensor Tower's numbers, or just makes up this entire column by multiplying the iOS numbers by 150 to 175%.
That is interesting. Now, I can see where he can say, like, oh, it's all made up because, well, half of it, at least, or a huge chunk of it is sort of guesstimated. But I think iOS is the most popular platform for mobile gaming, and I do think that it speaks to trends still, right? That is interesting, though. I did not know that. But if they're multiplying it, I mean, we just would have to see, is it fair, right? Is it fair to say that? This doesn't have Android either, so if that's if it's all the same, then this doesn't have Android either. Does this have Android? Okay, it does. But for CN, it doesn't have Android. What about Wuthering Waves Global? Where is Wuthering Waves? How far down are we? Right here. Okay, Global has Android. It's just CN that doesn't. I don't think then there's like, you know, as long as we're all reading the same shit and the same multipliers are being like used, I don't think this is a big deal. Right? I don't think that's a big deal. Right? iOS is more popular. iPhones are way more popular than Android. For sure they are. Might be extrapolated based off downloads. I mean, the thing is like, as long as CN of all these gacha games are guesstimated, and it's roughly the same multiplier as the data that they do have, it seems like a lot of the big games don't have China Android, then I think it's fine. Right? I mean, we're all on the same scale.
75%. When we take a look at the month of June, for example, $12.3 million in revenue, or 63.7% of the entire CN region, is completely made up. There's a reason why the Gacha Revenue website hides this information behind their convoluted interface and a tiny, tiny little button. There's a reason why they never clarify that over 60% of the actual numbers have no factual basis unless you dig into their FAQ.
This reason is because they hate Wuthering Waves, guys. They hate Wuthering Waves because this chart was made by a Redditor of r/gacha gaming, and we all know that r/gacha gaming hates Wuthering Waves, dude. Absolutely hates them. Of course. That's what it is.
Data is genuinely bad, and there would be far less people blindly trusting these reports if they knew how bad it actually was. People on the internet are gullible. Hardly anybody takes the time to actually validate the information that they're looking at. And this
True. I mean, that's not wrong.
Gacha Revenue website is built on a foundation of...
I don't see how it's hidden if it's in fact. That's true. But of course, like, people don't read between the lines. People don't read the terms and service. I can see the argument there, but it's not hidden, right? It's not like deliberately like you can't find the information on the site itself, right? But it's I mean, as long as we're all operating on the same scale or as long as the Chinese data is guesstimated based off all existing data that we have, right? I don't think it's, I mean, like, what's the big deal?
Of lying through omission by not disclosing any of these massive flaws directly to the viewer on the front page of the report. It's one.
It's like, do they need to? I think the fact that it's, you know, the UI is pretty sleek, it's nice, there's not a lot of, you know, junk. I think that's not a bad thing. I enjoy the fact that it's pretty minimalistic.
One of the most dishonest portrayals of performance possible. And it's a shame that a report like this, that can't justify more than half of its data, gets so much headspace across gacha communities. I
mean, it's all a matter of, like, I don't know. I find this to be a little more disingenuous than what Gacha Revenue is doing. Because he is saying that this applies to everything, but he did frame it in a way that it's only really Wuthering Waves China that is like over here, right? He's framing it in a way that it's only Wuthering Waves China that doesn't have these numbers. All of them don't have these numbers. For China specifically, you don't have Android numbers. So it's like that kind of framing, I feel like, is a little more disingenuous.
This information alone might be enough to convince you that these reports are garbage. But what if I told you that its problems extend beyond that, to the point where weeks of data and sales don't even show up at all? We saw a prime example of this.
Yeah, okay, yes, we saw Wuthering Waves go up after a few more days of the Gacha Revenue report of the last month coming out, but that was the same with Genshin. That was the same for almost all the gacha games. Any gacha game that had like a banner towards the end of the month, I noticed that their numbers would update continuously throughout like the next few days. So it's not anything crazy. It's not anything targeted towards WUWA.
In Wuthering Waves with the release of Shorekeeper and the absurdly awful revenue numbers reported at the start of October, which indicated that Wuthering Waves made only $6.5 million. Many believe that the first 2 days of Shorekeeper's banner were included in those totals, and the wave of doom posting and counter doom posting dominated the
Oh, that's cute. He put Kazuhana as a counter doom poster.
Community across the beginning of October. I was guilty of it myself. And then, lo and behold, less than a week later, these numbers spiked $5 million overnight to a total of $11.5 million. There's a simple explanation for this. It's a flaw in the data and how it's gathered. By taking a look at the Gacha Revenue FAQ, we'll find that the revenue numbers for the month can't be accurately reported until at least a few weeks into the following month. Similarly to the fictional CN Android revenue data, the viewer has to find out this information on their own and come to that conclusion themselves. Again, this is simply another example.
They've been lying to us from the beginning, man. That's crazy.
Of this website and report lying through omission by not making this dynamic immediately clear to the viewer. How?
It's in the FAQ, dude.
How difficult would it be to add a small...
It's in the FAQ and it updates for every game, for all of them.
Disclaimer to the top of all these reports and confirm that a majority of the CN data is completely made up and that monthly revenue numbers aren't even close to finalized until the 15th of the following month. Wouldn't players be able to make more accurate assumptions or conclusions about the performance of their games if they had this full information? Wouldn't it be better for the gacha community as a whole if they knew there's a giant asterisk on every single number on these reports?
No, because the thing is, we're all operating on the same scale. CN Android numbers don't exist for anything. Every one of the CN Android numbers are guesstimated for everything. So it's all just fun, like shits and giggles. Like it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. And personally, I don't concern myself with like what a lot of dumb people think if they're really getting hoodwinked by this or fooled by this. Like, we're all playing on the same, like, playing field, right?
The fact of the matter is that these reports and this website thrive off misleading an audience. There would be far less trust, far less acknowledgement.
Does Gacha Revenue even have, like, ads? Are there ads on this? I mean, eventually they'll probably sell it off and put ads on it. But I don't know. I think they're chilling. They do have donation button on the bottom left.
And far less traffic to this website if they were upfront about the massive holes in their data and reporting. There's a reason why they hide all of the important disclaimers about their numbers deep in their FAQ.
And the reason why is because they hate Wuthering Waves.
Knowing that a vast majority of viewers will never actually look at it. There's a reason why this FAQ isn't front and center on their website. And there's a reason why you have to click into the questions to even find the answers. It's because the person curating this data and running this website is pretty much doing whatever the hell they feel like and painting whatever narratives they'd like. Expanding the question, Sensor Tower only reports iOS CN revenue. Where did you get Android data from? Gives you the answer of, I saw some other people make revenue posts by multiplying iOS numbers by 1.5 to 2.5. So I just went with 1 3/4. That is this data scientist's justification for millions of dollars in fabricated revenue data.
Wait, millions of dollars of fabricated data, bro? It's just text on a fucking website. Like, we're all just like clowning around on the internet and, you know, enjoying the fireworks to show. Like, it's not like anyone's losing money here. Come on, let's not put that down.
They saw other people guesstimating between 150 to 250% and just went with 175 for fun. Who cares about citing your sources? Who cares about validating your data? Just throw.
Because he's a data scientist, guys. He's submitting this in a fucking research journal of which gacha games are doing the best. No, dude. Like, it's for fucking Reddit, dude. It's for fucking armchair keyboard warriors to fucking have something to talk about at the end of every month. It's not that big of a deal. It's like...
Throw a multiplier on it because you saw other people doing it. Reading this one answer alone should be enough to invalidate any conclusions you have from this report completely. If the creator of this website truly wanted to give an accurate overview of revenue performance without misleading the community, they wouldn't publish monthly reports on the 1st. They would acknowledge the faults in their data gathering and delay all monthly reports until the 15th to make time for accurate data. But they...
Question. Did the money that came from you know, the following days, did that change Wu was placing for, what was it, September or was it October? This one, did it change Wu was placing dramatically? Like, how much did it change it by? It was maybe like 6.75 mil, not dramatically. Was that combined when we saw the 6.75 mil? I just feel like it's not that big of a deal. And if it comes up, someone's gonna make a Reddit post and they'll talk about it, you know. And if it comes up, like, if it is relevant in the future, it'll be cited and it'll be like, yo, actually, Wuthering Waves did a lot better than what you thought before, but it really didn't do that much better.
They don't. They would make it abundantly clear to anyone viewing their reports that a huge portion of their revenue data, over 60% of their CN numbers, is completely made up.
Saintontas, how many times do you have to repeat the same thing to make this an 8-minute video? How many times?
In one of
the same, like, little screenshots with the baby and the phone and this text.
Laziest calculations possible, instead of hiding the specifics behind multiple clicks and categories on their website. But they don't. They would put huge disclaimers at the beginning of their reports indicating that there are massive flaws with its numbers and dissuade people from making hasty assumptions with bad data and minimize the negative backlash multiple games receive at the start of every month. But they don't. The fact of the matter is that GachaRevenue.com is only taken seriously because people simply don't know how it works, and the website's developer doesn't make it clear how to find out. Because,
I mean, the thing is, they don't need to know the ins and outs, the intricate details of how it works anyway, because no matter what, it's around the same. everything is around the same. And if it comes up and it changes, at least it changes, right? Over time, then people will talk about it. Like, it's not that crazy.
How it works, and the website's developer doesn't make it clear how to find out. Because once a person knows how these reports actually work, they'll naturally come to the conclusion that it's pretty much completely worthless and not worth analyzing at
Nah, it's way too fun, and it's free content, so...
all, and that would be bad for business. To wrap it all up, all I'll say is that these reports should be taken with the fattest grain of salt on Earth. When the
That's a lot of grains of salt.
Peace out.
People are leaving Wuthering Waves because it's dying right now. People are leaving Zenless Zone Zero because it's dying right now. You know, I will say, like, if it was a Steam game, sure. I think the argument of like Steam charts affecting player numbers. Actually, no. I think that'd be bullshit too. The fact of the matter is that most gacha game players don't give a fuck about like revenue and like how the game is doing. They are gonna play the game if they like the game, and if they see value in the game, and if they don't, then they'll stop. That's really as simple as it is, right? The rule of large numbers, the majority by large will follow this rule. I guarantee you.
Out.
Misleading them to what, though? To posting shit on Reddit. That is what's happening. That is the injustice that is happening right now. There's too much on Wuthering Waves on Reddit, okay? That's the injustice that we are suffering right now because of this gacha revenue list. This list, and fuck the people behind it. We're gonna boycott this starting next year.